Hello everyone, this is Jackie here to discuss about Stanky Boy and his series Catnap and Friends. In episode 1 has concluded with part 4 of episode 1. Now, let's discuss what this means. We have evolution of friends, but that's not the most important thing we have on here. We have all the parts of episode 1. Episode 1 had 4.5 parts. Why I say half? Well, Nice Catnap The Real Deal is technically part 2.5. And Nice Catnap part 4 reassures that Real Deal is canon. And since it came out before part 3 and after part 2, it is technically part 2.5. So in total, episode 1 of Catnap and Friends with Nice Catnap is a full on. Okay, let me just add all of it together. You first add the minutes. Five, 6, 10, 2, 12, 2, 56 minutes and 32 seconds. 56 minutes and 32 seconds. That is how long the entirety of episode 1 is. 56 minutes and 32 seconds. I did the math right there. Adding everything together. "56 minutes and 32 seconds. That is a long first episode. And it took in the whole year. And in chapter 4, and when part 4 came out. Shut up, Home Depot ad. Came out on January 26th. That is 4 days before chapter 4 comes out. And speaking of chapter 4, that's part of my concerns of why I'm making this video. I am hyped for chapter 4, but that is part of my concerns for his series. And I'll explain why in a moment. And before I get to explaining that, I'm going to explain some other things. Now that part 4 is out and episode 1 has concluded, I think Stanky needs to have a bit, at least at the shortest 2-week break, at the longest 3-week break. I think he should take at least a 3-week break before he works on episode 2, at maybe even a month. Because he's been working so hard on this. Because this takes time, and he needs a break. Hell, maybe even a month and a half. I know people may think that they might want episode 2 as soon as possible, but I think he should have some time to think of what to do with episode 2, so it doesn't take an entire year to be split up. Because he did say he doesn't want it to end up like episode 1. And I hope it doesn't end up like episode 1 as well, because at this point, if it doesn't end up like episode 1, I'm going to say this right now, he'll probably lose interest in making his series by the point of episode 3. I'm calling it right now. Because he'll most likely lose interest of Smiling Critters and everything and want to move on. And I will respect him for that. I'll have the utmost respect for him for that, but there will be dedicated fans that will probably harass him to continue. But lots of loyal fans like me will respect him for his decision that he would cancel it, That's if he gets to that point. I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying it will most likely happen if this keeps up. Because his interests, people's interests do change. And he is quite young, and I feel like he will most likely not want to work on this for the rest of his life. He's eventually going to want to have a job and everything and call it quits. So he's either going to hand it to a group of people to continue it on, or cancel it altogether. If something doesn't change of how long it gets made. Again, I will respect him when he gets to that point. I will respect him heavily. I'm just worried about the people that will harass him. Because Poppy Playtime is one of the Maska horror games that is very, very, very popular. And Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 surpassed all expectations and its hype. So yeah, that's my concerns for that reason for his series. Now let's talk on to the other reason that I talked about earlier. Chapter 4 being a factor. Look, I'm going to say this right now. I don't want him to get pestered into adding the Nightmare Critters or anything Chapter 4 related until, like, episode 4 or 5. Because I feel like that would be the best fitting for a series. I'm not him, but I feel like it's too early for that. But for me personally, I feel like at least episode 4 or 5 would be the best way to do it. Maybe even 6 or 7. A bit later down the line to introduce the Nightmare Critters or any. Because I feel like it would be better to do the Frowning Critters first, but but not now. I feel like we should get some stories about the actual Smiling Critters first before we start getting into other critter territory with the other types of critters. Because we need we need stories with the other critters first before with the Smiling Critters first before Stanky starts doing stuff with the other critters and other stuff. I am hoping he doesn't get pestered into adding the Nightmare Critters into episode 02 just because chapter 4 is the newest chapter. I get episode 1 took an entire year to make, but I don't want him to get pressed into oblivion just to add the Nightmare Critters into episode 2. I don't want his artistic vision to get ruined and messed up just because of what some people want. It's his series. He should do what he wants. I can get criticism, but criticizing just because it doesn't have certain characters in it is just stupid. Oh, you didn't add the Nightmare Critters into episode 2. Shut up. Shut up. He'll add the Nightmare Critters when he wants. Just let him have time to do it. I don't know if he's going to add them into episode 2 or not, but I don't want him to feel forced if he has to. I want him to add the Nightmare Critters when he wants to in his series. The only one of the Nightmare Critters I really like is Raby Baby. She's the only one I really like. Yeah. And, yeah. Okay. Now, what? And besides that, I mostly, and that's pretty much it. I just don't want him to get pestered about like adding chapter 4 stuff into his series and to mostly find a way to make it so he can make the episodes so long that it takes an entire year, because I can sense he is gonna eventually get tired of this and move on to something else eventually, and probably cancel the series early. I will respect him when it gets to that point. When it may or may not get to that point. I'm not saying it will, but it's highly likely. Highly likely he will if it keeps up like this. Highly likely. Because loads of artists have gotten that way before trying to do this, and they just, when they been trying to do it on their own, they just gave up early because they couldn't take it, because they need help from others. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, and yeah.